Hello everybody, this is Teo here. In this video I'm going to be talking about T2 static defenses and utility structures. In this video I'm going to be talking about Armada as well as Cortex and showing the difference between the two in terms of builders and what they can do. Um, Actually there's one builder I forgot to build, which is the Beaver. So I guess just to start out with the amphibious builders, so the Beaver as well as, what is it called? The Muskrats, that's right, for Cortex. So these are built out of the T1 vehicle labs, and they are amphibious construction vehicles. They can build everything that the regular T1 constructor can build. The difference being is they can also build stuff in the water, so they can build all the water stuff as well. And they're very useful for grabbing underwater mexes early on that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get. So it kind of points you in the direction of maybe you want to go vehicle so you can get those underwater mexes, just to help you out a little bit. T2 does not have an underwater construction vehicle. Bots do not have an underwater construction vehicle. This is Cortex, by the way. Armada up here. Again, same thing, only the T1 T1 vehicles have a amphibious construction vehicle. And again, I can't show off the water stuff here in the build menu because there is no water on this map. But to talk about the other builders, so these ones are your T1 builders. Let me just do the same thing on the other side. So these three are your Cortex T1 builders, the two vehicle ones and the bot one. I'm not going to be covering the air builders, but they're basically the same thing, but can do air stuff. But yeah, so then you have your tier 2 construction bots, tier 2 construction vehicle, and for Armada you have the fast assist to repair bot, the Butler, which Cortex does not have. And then you have the combat engineer, which is the console, which is produced out of the vehicle lab. The Butler is produced out of the bot lab. So, you know, assisting stuff. For Cortex, you don't have the Butler equivalents, but you do have a console equivalent, a combat engineer, which is the Twitcher. Can build basically similar stuff as the combat engineer for Armada, the console. But it is on the bot lab T2 instead. Metal. Yeah, I know, I'm wasting metal, whatever. But yeah, here's your T2 vehicle constructor, your tier 2 bots constructor. Sorry, there's just a lot of constructors to go over. But yeah, there's no Butler, just FYI. But the Butler is can only build a limited selection of stuff anyways, so it's mainly just a repair assist bots. Looking at the build power stuff, your commander starts with 300. That's the same for Cortex. And then your T1 bots, the Muskrats. Oh, actually, let's start with the bot first. So the bot has 80. Armada bot has, where is it? Armada bot has 80. The regular vehicle constructor has 90. Same with the Cortex one. And then the Muskrat has 80, so slightly less build power for the ability to build underwater stuff. Alright, I'm wasting metal, what can I do about it? In fact, I don't really know what I can do about it. I guess I can build some of these. Or maybe I build or no, I can't because of no cost. Well, we're just going to hear that once in a while. In fact, maybe I'll just turn that off in the notifications real quick. Oh, there's two voices, I didn't know that. Let's see, voice notifications off. Alright, so going back to this, Butler can only build you know, some very basic economy type stuff, including the converter, the mechs, you know, solar collector, wind turbine. In terms of defensive structures, it can't build any. In terms of utility, it can build the beholder, and it can build the mobile radar and mobile jammer. It cannot build these static versions. Which is, it's kind of interesting that I can do that. I mean, I suppose I should bring out maybe the commando, because the commando can build stuff as well. It just cannot build any economic buildings or anything like that. It's mostly just like random stuff to help it be cheesy in a way. so I'm not going to talk about that too much, but just to point it out, it does have like a jammer perimeter camera. Um, a lot of builders can build the perimeter camera, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Um, but yeah, going back to regular, the main focus here is going to be the defensive structures and the utility structures. So defensively, whether it be a bots or a vehicle or an amphibious vehicle, they can all build the same stuff. This is all T1 stuff. Same with the Cortex. They all build the same stuff. Um, it doesn't matter who I select, it's all the same stuff. Same with the utilities, it's all the same stuff. Amphibious can build some of the water stuff, however, which is just like a lot of times the water versions of the same thing. But yeah, you guys are probably fairly familiar with that, so let's move on to T2. I guess really quickly, just to talk about the prices of stuff. Obviously, you have your light laser turret, which is only 85 metal. Your beamer, which is a bit more range and more damage, it's 200. Overwatch is 440, and it has a lot more range. It can deal with rocket bots and stuff pretty well, but it doesn't really deal any extra damage. It does a little bit of extra damage, like here it's 387 beamer. I guess the beamer is kind of unique because it's like a constant stream, like its reload time is 0.1 seconds. But its DPS is 266 to just compare it to the Overwatch DPS, which is 215, and the Sentry, which is 160. The Cortex versions are going to be fairly similar. Guard is 90. Twin Guard, which is this thing, is the Cortex counterpart to the Beamer. It's basically a light laser tower with an extra tall secondary laser tower. It's like a 2-stack of the regular Guard, except the one has a bit more range. And that bit of extra range helps deal with rocket bots early on. All these things get outranged by the T1 artillery from the vehicle lab, so keep that in mind. And again, things like the Warden and the other HLT from Armada, they don't really, like, the cost does not really, or I'm sorry, the extra range and a little bit of damage does not really justify its larger cost and longer build time. So I would avoid building these most of the time. There are a few occasions when they're useful, like you really need to defend one location and you have like a bunch of other stuff to also help defend, because one Overwatch or whatever Warden will not do that much for defense because they don't do that much damage. Dragon's Claw is a pop-up lightning turret. It's similar to the Jaguar or the Welder in terms of what they do for attack. Has a bit of range, 440. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's not a little. Cortex instead has a flame version, but basically the same thing. One thing to note about these towers is they look a lot like the walls, and when they are down, they basically look exactly like a wall to the enemy. So here, since it's mine, and since it's my allies actually, it says Dragon's Maw. The regular wall is the Dragon's Teeth. But to the enemy, this will actually say Dragon's Teeth until it pops up. Also, when they are down, they have like some extra hit points or armor rather. Like they're just harder to kill when they're down. So they're quite annoying to deal with in a lot of situations. But they are a bit more expensive. It's 300 compared to like 200 for the Twin Guard. And then the Armada version, let's look at the cost there. Whoops. Armada version 340, so even a little bit more. Again, the beamer is only 190. But to talk about the anti-air, only 80 for the Nettle. It's not that expensive. But once you start thinking about bigger anti-air, it starts becoming expensive. So ideally, you want to defend air with things like Nettles. But if air becomes a big problem, then you want to consider one of these other ones. Like the chainsaw, 750 metal is a lot for T1. So you want to be careful with that. And I don't recommend building it when you haven't even seen air. You should at least get the air detected notification before you even consider a SAM or Eradicator, because again, expensive. The Punisher, or I'm sorry, the Agitator. What is the Armada one called? I forget. The Gauntlet, Agitator and Gauntlet. So they are very expensive. 1,250 metal for the Armada version. For Cortex, the Agitator is 1,300 metal. So these are very, very expensive. To compare it to Tier 2 Bot Lab, it's about 3,000 metal. So it's like a third of, it's over a third of the cost. But these things are basically your static anti whatever, long range plasma cannon. And they have two attack types. So they have the regular, just like attack. This attack is fairly head on. It'll get blocked by hills and stuff. In certain positions, like they can be kind of useful if they're behind a mountain or something. If you put it on high trajectory, they'll just fire it like as if it's an artillery vehicle or something. Difference between the two, if we look at the high trajectory version, it does a higher burst damage, but it takes a lot longer to reload. So DPS wise, it's lower, but again, bigger damage in one burst is kind of nice sometimes. The range, let's see, the range stays the same. And it has a little bit of impulse and whatnot. But yeah, main takeaway is it can shoot over hills, whereas when it's not in high trajectory mode, it does not. But that pretty much sums up the T1 structures here. To look at the utility structures, you have your radar, you have a jammer. Jammer is kind of shorter range because it's T1. You have your basic wall, which is very cheap, very quick to build. Don't build walls if you're trying to block attacks. They really only block attacks from specific units, such as like pawns and grunts and things with that are shorter like that. Rocket bots can generally attack over them still. Perimeter cameras I would highly recommend. If you're ever in a position where you've moved past the normal front line, like you're dipping into your opponent's territory a little bit, or even just right at the front line, I would suggest using these. And the way I would suggest using them is not to just place them out in the open. They are a cloaked and stealthed units. So units that bump into them will see them, but to make it so that they don't get seen when an enemy runs close by, you want to put it on some kind of cliff here. So this cliff spot, like obviously units can run over this part of the cliff, but it's going to be a bit less likely, and on some other maps and other terrains, units cannot move on certain parts of the cliff. Just to show how traversable this actually is. It's actually quite traversable, this entire area, by bots. But yeah, ideally you put them on big cliff edges, like you could put one over here where the traversability isn't as heavy, and then no unit will bump into it. But basically they are an immobile spy unit, and just like the Ghost or the Spectre, they have some line of sight. Where's the line of sight? Oh, there it is, 540 for line of sights. Again, they're stealth and stuff, so they can't be seen by radar. They do require a little bit of energy, so if you ever run out of power while your opponent is nearby, they will see it and they will kill it. So try not to run out of power when you have these. Yeah, you got your basic, like I said, your short range jammer. You got your radar. You guys know about all these things. Juno is something you might not be as familiar with. So Junos are kind of like like a nuke or attack nuke launcher or an EMP launcher. A few units have this like build up a missile type thing, and then you have to manually fire it. it will not fire on its own. So what I like to do, like you can't auto group buildings, but you can put them on a control group. So I'll put them on. Wait, did that work? Oh no, it's not working because it's not mine. I guess I could build one with one of these guys over here. I turned on God mode, by the way, in order to control everyone's units. So that's why I can control green here to get the Cortex pieces out. But yeah, anyways, the Juno is something that builds a missile over time, and it's something you manually fire at a location. And within this huge radius, it'll take out all the radars, whether it be static or mobile. It'll take out all the jammers, static or mobile. And it'll also detonate mines. And it'll also destroy any ticks. So if someone is tick spamming, it can be a useful thing to get. Just because you can completely shut it down, type of thing. It does require energy and metal to produce that missile. And you can't turn it off, just FYI. It also has the stockpile button, which I forget if you can change this value, but apparently, oh no, oh okay, that's how you do it. Okay, so it's left click to increase the stockpile amounts, right click to decrease it, and that just means it'll stop producing missiles at a certain point. Default it starts at 99, so it's something you might want to lower. Apparently it doesn't go below 46, which I find kind of odd, but or maybe it is and just the UI isn't updating. Or no, okay, yeah, I guess it wasn't updating. Okay, so it can go lower in case you don't want to stockpile that many. You can use the shift to do 5, or control to do 20, or shift control to do 100. Apparently the UI is a little bit buggy. Anyways, now that I have a missile, I use all my energy to do it, but I have a missile. Let's produce some radars and stuff just to show how it works. This works with T2 radar and stuff too. That one and one of these. And then we'll produce, I can't produce ticks over here. I guess I'll have to do it here. Yeah, I'm just producing some scouts to show off how it works. But again, it's a very large radius. Whoops. Okay, well I just fired one over here by mistake. I right-clicked it to cancel it, but apparently that also fires it. But yeah, it's just this missile that comes down and does this like AoE in this large area. It actually destroyed the scout here, this rascal. But to do it in this area. And it also lasts for a little bit. You see this lightning is still around. Does this state how long it lasts? Reload, range, AoE, range. I guess not. But yeah, so it kills all the stuff that I mentioned prior. But yeah, it also leaves a wreck. So all these things can just be, if you have bots and res bots out, you can just resurrect. Oops. The stuff. But again, you want to wait for the effect to wear off, because it'll just get destroyed again. Or not, what? Apparently the effect was like just wearing off. Anyways, that's Juno for you. It can be useful, but it is kind of expensive. For early game, like 660 is kind of a big deal, but as you get into tier 2 economy, not a big deal. So just something to keep in mind. Alright, so now let's actually talk about tier 2 defenses and utility structures. I guess since we're just talking about the utility structures, why don't we just continue with that? So these differ a little bit between the two races, but fairly similar. So utility-wise, you have your air repair pad. Basically, this is just 4 spots for aircraft to come and land and repair up if they take damage. all air units have a they have a thing you can click through for like how low the hit point should be before they return to get repaired. And so when you have one of these repair pads, then the air units will come back and get repaired. But a lot of the time, a lot of air units will, they die rather quickly most of the time. But if they don't, then a repair pad is nice to have. So if you have something like dragons, you can just have them automatically return and get repaired. Armada has the same thing. Oops, this is a T1 guy. With their air repair pad. Operates exactly the same. Let's see, you got your T2 fortifications. So these are taller walls compared to the T1 version. Much taller. So they block a lot more attacks. They also absorb a lot more damage. Like the Dragon's Teeth can only absorb 2,800. These fortifications are closer to 9,000. If you guys haven't built walls yet, they are something that can't be, or they aren't automatically attacked on. So if something is attacking you, the bullets and stuff will go through. They won't attack it. Instead, like, they can be used to section off an area. When you start dealing with T2 tanks and stuff, T2 tanks can just like walk over tier 1 Dragon's Teeth. They can just like smash through these, like they run over wrecks, no problem. With the fortifications though, it's much like units do not walk over and kill it basically until it becomes a bigger T3 unit. And even then, I'm not even sure if they can, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, they're quite nice to have to section off an area. They take a lot more manual fire hits. And also you can like surround certain things like some of the defensive structures I'll be talking about a little bit later. But yeah, T2 also has a jammer. It's the same thing, it's just a bigger range. Same thing with the radar. The radar is just a much bigger range. Again, still gets blocked by line of sights, so you want to put it in meaningful locations, like on a hill. Core has the same stuff. Where's my core builder? Here we go. Okay, same thing. Radar, jammer, wall. Walls look a little bit different, but yeah, same thing. We talked about the air pad. All right, so then there is the 3 like interesting buildings that are a little bit different. I mean, I suppose the air pad is interesting and different as well. But the most commonly built out of these, or what should be the most commonly built out of these, is the pinpointer. So the pinpointer basically, actually, why don't I global LOS. So I'm just gonna build some units to show off the what the pinpointer does basically. And I'm gonna do it with this player back here so I can turn off the global LOS and just show the wobble basically. Can I draw a straight line? Let's do it a little bit wider actually. I have a very hard time drawing a straight line with the mouse. But yeah, I'm gonna make a straight line there, and then I'm gonna turn off. Actually, why don't I just do this? Okay, so now I know that's where the units are gonna be, roughly speaking. Now turn off global LOS. Okay. So that's where they're going to sit, and you'll see the radar wobble in effect, basically, is what I'm showing. Once they get there, jeez. Okay, here they come. No? What? Don't say. Oh, because the radar is blocked by this this cliff here. Hold on, let me just build global LOS. Let's see, Twitcher. Do radar up here for me. So the pinpointer is something that a lot of people end up forgetting because it's kind of a bit less importance. But it is kind of cheap for T2. You know, it's only 800 bucks. And okay, so here's the wobble. So we know that this line is actually straight. but because of the wobble, each one of these dots is moving around. You know, we don't know exactly where this unit is. Now, if we turn off the vision, global LOS, or turn off the fog of war, we can tell that the grunts is here. So we know it's right there. And so this actually like goes all over the place. It's kind of a large area it can spread out to. So your artilleries and things that don't actually see the units in their line of sight will oftentimes miss. But with these pinpointers, and Armada has the same thing. It's the exact same unit basically. But for each, actually I need a fusion because they need power. So I'll grab one of those. I'm actually surprised it's not showing a minus here, because I thought they required power. Well, either way, so I have one of the pinpointers, and this wobble has decreased a bit. It's like slow. It feels kind of slower moving. I don't know if that's really true, but the radius in which it can like roam around is less. If we get 2 of them, it should stop the wobble a lot more. It's just like a little bit of wobble still, not too much. If we get 3 of them, and this is map wide, it doesn't matter where you put these. It also doesn't matter which player gets these. So if you have 3 in total, that's pretty good. So 3 is like the magic number to basically, whoops. Shoot, now they're not in a straight line. Okay. But yeah, with 3 they basically have so little wobble that you can barely tell that it's wobbling. So that's kind of the magic number. For very small units like ticks, you might want to consider a 4th, but if you're dealing with ticks, you probably want to just use a Juno anyways, so you know it's not really that useful to have 4. But yeah, that's the magic number, is to have 3 team-wide. And again, they're not terribly expensive. I mean, 3 of them it gets kind of expensive, but I mean, $800 for Cortex. The Armada version is $810, so a little bit more expensive in terms of metal. Moving on, we can talk about, well, I guess I can talk about the decoy fusion really quick. It's basically, as you would expect, a fusion that does not produce energy. It actually has quite a bit of hit points at 5,000, and it only costs 370 metal. So like, pretty damn cheap for a T2, or for something that has that much hit points. It does not generate any energy whatsoever, if we compare it to a regular fusion. Yeah, regular fusion does 1,000, but only has 4,450 hit points. To the enemy, this decoy will look like a regular fusion. And it can kind of be used as walls too. Like you can put it somewhere to make it harder for your opponent to do much. I'm actually going to kill this off to show that that there's a wreck. But yeah, let's move on as well. So next, let's talk about the tracer, the countermeasure system, the intrusion countermeasure system. So just like before, I'm going to make some units. Oh right, this is a T1 bot lab. So let's build a T2 because I want to build some spies. Just do that so I get some energy. Build one of these guys. Whoops. Okay, so now let's build some spies. I'm sorry, specters, because it's yeah, specters. So again, specters do not show up on radar. I believe I moved them all into a good position. So I'm putting them right in front of these pawns here, or grunts rather, so I know like where they're gonna be. Whoops. So hard to draw lines. Oh no, it's gonna be something like that. But the intrusion countermeasures is basically a way to detect cloak stuff. But it's not gonna do it all for you. It does have a limited range. It's kind of hard to see, but there's this like pinkish reddish. Actually, it's just straight up like a darker pink circle or radius, and I'll just put it like, maybe I'll just put it on the hill. But basically, any cloaked unit within the radius will, or any cloaked unit that's moving within the radius will be detected. So I'll take one of these and just use patrol with it so we can see it moving. And I'll turn off the global LOS. Or no, actually, I didn't cloak these, did I? So let's cloak. Okay, so now I can't see them even with the LOS on. And it hasn't built it yet. Did I destroy this yet? Okay. So yeah, so decoy fusions, just like other, anything else, it leaves a wreck if it's not overkilled too hard. Which means, like, basically each wreck, when it becomes a wreck, the enemy unit will not fire on it, which and they're also not passable. So you can do things like put one of these in a choke, allow it to be killed off, and now units won't automatically pass through it. They'll instead have to manually attack it to kill it first. That's kind of what I wanted to point out there. Anyways, so here's the countermeasures in practice. So we know that there's like spies all along this line here, but they're not moving, so they do not show up on the countermeasure system. Basically, it's like an earthquake detection, seismic, thing to detect movements. That only works on invisible units. But yeah, this is how it shows up. And then once it shows up like this, units will not automatically fire on it. I repeat, not automatically fire on it. So once it's detected, you still need to manually like walk up to it to see it, or you need to basically manually attack the location where it's going. Otherwise, it'll just appear like this. So I mean, it's helpful, but it's not like a giveaway. Like here's where it is. It's revealed. It's dead. Instead, it's more of a, you still have to do some work once it's detected. It's not terribly expensive. We're talking $750, and just not use energy for it. This seismic 2000 here, I believe that's the radius of the effect. This pinkish purplish kind of line here. Armada or Cortex, they have the same thing. They just look a little bit different. This one, the Armada version looks like this, but same thing. Let's see, does it have the same range? Yeah, same range. Nothing too crazy there. So last but not least, in terms of utilities, we have the Keeper, the Plasma Deflector. In fact, I'm going to need probably some energy for this, because it does drain. I got 1,000 coming in, I guess. But yeah, it drains some energy to build up this charge. And then once the, regardless of where the charge is, if a unit with a plasma attack attacks within this ring that it's created, the shot will deflect or bounce off the shield and hit nearby stuff instead. And again, it's only plasma shots, which, in this game, that means no lasers, no missiles, anything that has a ball attack, basically. Let's see, this guy's Cortex, so I can't really do some of that stuff, but, well, it's going to take a long time, but I can get some units over there to show that off. Yeah, we'll just put you in the middle. Missile, we'll do a Fiends. Alright, Spider, I guess, why not? But yeah, just to show off some basic units and how it deflects. Very useful if someone builds long-range plasma cannons. But the thing is, yeah, so once it's charged, it does not use energy. This one's fully charged now. But basically, it'll like with every shot that's deflected, the charge will go down. And if the charge is less than the DPS of the shots, then the shot will pass through it. So high damage projectiles will still get through if the charge is low enough. So against things like battleships, battleships shoot a lot of plasma at them. You will need a second one to defend your base. You know, so these are quite expensive. Where's my builder? Oh, I got one up here. Alright, so 3,000 metal to build one. So if you want two, you gotta do another one for another 2,000, and then it's like how much of your bases that actually cover. You know, you might need even more. You might need to start stacking them up a bit. So it gets very expensive to do that. But yeah, I'll just put one over here. Sheldons, like, they have very low damage, so most of the shots are just going to be blocked straight up. But I don't want to do that. Let's do that. Yeah, so the shot, it's not like a super fast attack or anything for the Sheldons. So like, they just kind of hits. I mean, they just kind of like bounce off like this. Should have gotten a builder over here. You know what? Let's make this a little speedier and do an aircon instead. Whoops, I want one of these. Go over there, build in T2. I'm just doing this so I can get builders over here quickly. Quickly, I said. Alright, so let's put down one of these guys. I'll build some stuff with this after I show that off. Alright, so if I try to shoot within this circle, it just bounces off. If I go to high trajectory, it'll bounce off. You know, it does like the math to where it's going to bounce. So this should go, you know, somewhere out here. Where's, oh my gosh, it takes so long to come down. Yeah, so it bounces off, hits over here. And then each time it does that, we should see this go down. Yeah, it just went down to 97 as it got deflected. Obviously, the agitator doesn't have like a ton of damage, so let's build a T2 one, which I haven't talked about yet, but I will. Oops, I want one of these. Alright, so this Scorpion, this is not a plasma shot, it's a missile. So this goes right through, no problem. Let's update that. Let's build the plasma one. Let's put it right there. Alright, so this guy, a lot more damage. You know, about 1,000 damage. Actually, the 1,000 damage is the high trajectory version. Regularly, it's 420. But yeah, the shots bounce off again. When trajectory show that. Let's see. Actually, this is a good question. I'm not sure if I don't think that. Yeah, it's a laser and a tachyon. So yeah, this one counts either. What? You not want to attack that? Oh, maybe you don't have the energy because I didn't build a thing. And I probably need a fusion. There we go. But yeah, lasers pass right through, plasma does not. Alright, anyways, moving on. This is already a long video, I apologize for that. But I like to squeeze all these in together. Yeah, I talked about the T1 defenses a little bit, but let's talk about the T2 stuff. Actually, I already got builders out there to just kind of show some of that off, but basically, you have your Sabo battery. In this case, it's a Scorpion for the Cortex. Actually, where's my Armada guys? Let's build another one, maybe. I don't see him. Okay, well, it's basically the same thing. You got your Pitbull with which is a Gauss cannon. So it's not the missile like the other one. This one is a Gauss. It's not actually just because I don't think Gauss is. In fact, I should check this because the Gauss I'm pretty sure is not counted as a plasma. But just to double check my memory, I suppose. Oh, this guy's actually firing on that. But yeah, Scorpions again. They shoot a missile or a rocket rather. 825 damage. I think the hit points it's okay. It's like a reasonable defense. You know, it's like reasonably cheap. It's a pop-up, so it actually has more armor when it's down. It's only 730 hit points. The Armada version. Let's see. Let's build a Pitbull over here. I'll just destroy this. And then where's my builder? Oh yeah, that's right. I was doing air. Yeah, just to put a plasma deflector to see. Is that long enough range? Okay, so yeah, Gauss goes right through. Plasma does not. Gauss is not a plasma. Okay. One of the other key differences is Scorpion. You know, it has 3,000 hit points. The Pitbull has only 22,800, but it has a cloak. So the Armada version can cloak, which is, you know, it doesn't really cost much energy, but you do need energy to maintain that. The Armada version of the Plasma is the Rattlesnake. The Cortex version is the Persecutor. That's what we built here. Again, it has a high and low projectile, just like the T1 version. Yeah, but yeah, it's also blocked by stuff. A bit more expensive than the other pop-ups, the Pitbulls and the Scorpions, but the Rattlesnakes and such, you know, 2,500 metal, significantly more. And actually, again, the Armada version has cloak. So if this wasn't attacking, if I do hold fire, it'll actually go back down and cloak. Or actually, it is a pop-up, right? Or is it just the other one? Yeah, it is a pop-up. So this turret will retreat back into its underbelly. And again, both these things are cloaked. Cortex version, not cloaked. So a bit of a difference there. Let's see, the high trajectory version, again, of the Persecutor, about 1,000 damage. The Plasma Cannon, low trajectory one is 420, but it's much faster to fire that way. It is a pop-up, just like the Pitbull and the Scorpion and this other one. These four are pop-ups, I guess is the takeaway. Moving on from that, though, we have your even more expensive Tachyon Accelerator, the Pulsar. I trip on calling it a Pulsar because I oftentimes refer to it as an Annihilator, which is what it was called in Total Annihilation. But yeah, basically just one big laser attack. Huge damage, 10,800 per burst. Single you know, attack or whatever. No AoE is what I mean. The Cortex version is the Bulwark that I produced earlier, but it's a little bit different. So the Bulwark. Oh, let's turn you off. So the Pulsar, it takes a while to attack. The Pulsar. Why did you still attack? I thought I told you to stop. Let's build another one, I suppose. Alright, so anyways, Bulwark. It has multiple lasers on it. All ground to ground. The first one is the Tachyon long range thing that you normally see. But yeah, when units get close, they also have basically a what's it called? They have one laser that's more or less like an HLT laser, the green one, and they have one that's even closer range, or actually I should say two, or is it just one? I thought it was two. Oh, I guess it just alternates. Okay, well it's two lasers that are more akin to the light laser tower, with only 80 damage. So it's kind of like a, it's a all-in-one kind of tower to deal with a lot of different things, unlike the Pulsar, which is one big shot and that's it. But looking at the damage, like it only does 4,500 for that long range one, and then it has the other added ones. whereas the Pulsar has, you know, the damage is just astronomical. The Pulsars are actually really good. If you set up a line, they can deal with T3s pretty well. But yeah, it's super expensive, both these towers. Pulsar at 3,500. The Bulwark is, let's see. The Bulwark's slightly cheaper at 3,000. Beyond that, you have your TAC nukes and your EMPs, which are Armada has the EMP and the Cortex has the TAC nuke. Like the Juno, this is something that has to charge up. I don't get to see the charge because it's my enemies, but I believe it is charging. Same thing with the EMP, it charges up and then you manually fire. And it has a bit of a range. I mean, definitely longer than the Bulwark and the Pulsar. Not as much range as a CBM nuclear missile, however, but it can deal some damage. The radius is not huge; it's actually quite small, but it can do some stuff. Same with the TAC missile launcher. Definitely less range than the EMP, but also quite useful. So EMP, the EMP attack, you know, of course EMPs, and it does that stun for like 20 seconds for a lot of units, and the TAC launcher from the Cortex is just damage straight up. The damage being 4,000 per burst, and then if you're launching several in a row, it has a reload of 2, but again you have to build up the missile to do that. So I think if I do this, well, I guess we'll have to wait for that one. But moving on, we have your anti-air. You have your short-range version, which is quite good in terms of controlling a smaller space. When I say smaller space here, it actually is a larger space than like the T1 counterpart. Not too expensive, 820. The Mercury, the long-range anti-air tower, much longer range. It's also something that builds a missile, but it does not manually fire. It's automatically fires, but you do have to wait for the missiles to charge. Cortex basically has the same things, just in their own version, maybe slightly cheaper or stronger. But yeah, long range. Whoop! Oh, that anti-air actually just killed that T2 builder. I'll have to build a new one because yeah. It's very long range. Just to look at that range, it goes all the way up to this purple line here. And I just killed that one that was sitting there. Again, it has a stockpile system. Apparently 5 is the max. The anti-air flak cannon does not have that, but it does do quite well. Again, it's kind of hard to tell the numbers well. I guess you could say the burst 125, but then against like bombers it's doubled, against fighters it's quadrupled, against other things that are vertical takeoff and landing, there it's doubled. Same thing for the other the Cortex version. It's basically the same units, and then yeah, the long range does high amounts of damage, quite a bit of AoE to air units, does quite well. Basically all anti-air has a little bit of AoE, and the more expensive, the stronger the anti-air, the more, generally speaking, the more AoE it has. So these Mercuries have quite a bit of AoE. Moving on, next to the anti-air you have your anti-nuke system. Oops. Anti-nuke. Okay, yeah, Citadel for Armada. Cortex has... Why is the commander up here? Cortex has the Prevailer, same thing. Cortex, by the way, has the Cerberus for... the Cerberus is something that can only be placed on a Geo. So I'll build one over there. It's like the advanced Geo, except it produces far less energy, but it can be used as a pretty strong cannon and defensive point. You can stop, sir. Thank you. Alright, are you loaded? You're still not loaded. Oh, because I'm low on metal, that's why. Okay, well. I'll just build one of these real quick. I didn't think I'd ever get low on metal. But yeah, the no cost thing does not adjust for buildings that are using it. I mean, I should say like missiles and stuff that are using it. Citadel is an anti-nuke system. It's an automatic fire when a nuke goes off, but it does charge you a little bit of resources to produce the anti-nuke. But compared to the nuke launcher, it is far cheaper. I'll build one of those to start building that charge as well. I suppose I can do that for the Cortex, although it's going to be the same thing. Nah, I'm not going to bother with that, to be honest. Long-range plasma cannon. Super long range. I don't know if you guys can see the red circle, but it extends like putting it up here extends to where it extends like all the way out here. You know, again, if I try to put it around here. So very long range. Quite expensive, but it's usually kind of worth it. When I say kind of worth it, I mean like if like super late game it's worth it, but like if you're earlier on, it's better to just produce units. The Ragnarok, same thing, bit longer range. I'll build one, but I'm gonna have to build some fusions to support it probably. Let's build some advanced fusions over here. Takes quite a few to shoot it. Wait, did I not build it? Or am I building with that one? Got it. Let's see, is that... okay, so we do have an EMP. It's just like the Spybot detonation. You know, or if you're talking about Cortex, you have the Shurikens. But yeah, stuns these guys. Actually, it stunned the Bulwark for more than 20 seconds. But yeah, for units, I guess it's less. For buildings, a bit more. So I have this Ragnarok. Automatically it starts on hold fire, so you gotta like manually target it and stuff. But this thing, it shoots like all the way the heck back here. It's a very, very long range, and it's very fast with its attack. It does take a lot of power to fire. Each shot is 10,000 or 10,000 energy. Compared to, I think this takes a lot too, just fires slower. Yeah, okay, so this one's only 5,000 for the Basilica, and it has less range. But again, far, far, far cheaper. Ragnarok costs 63,000 metal, and the Basilica only 4,500. Cortex has the same stuff. It's just in Cortex form. Probably slightly cheaper or more expensive, depending. Where's my? Did I kill my builder over here by accident again? Nope, he's back here. Okay. Yeah. So for the Cortex, it's called the Calamity, and it's also called the Basilica. Or I'm sorry, the Basilisk. But yeah, basically the same thing, same kind of like huge range, huge cost, etc. Looks a little bit different and stuff, but basically the same. These things are plasma, so the plasma will get deflected. So if I shoot this like over here, might need more energy over here. So let's build some of those. Yeah, so it's actually enough energy required that I'm not even keeping up with this many advanced fusions. You know, and this is without spending it on like anything else. So you need a lot to use it. But yeah, since the attack is 10,000 damage of shots, let's stop you. Basically, you need to ensure that you have that much in the bank. Like if your storage is not 10,000 large, it will just not fire. And if it is 10,000 large, it'll basically only fire once in a great while, you know, as you have the energy. Because it'll drain the entire thing. Same thing with the Basilisk. Here it says the DPS is only 125, and that's because it attacks so slowly. Each attack does 2,000 damage for the Basilisk. Basilica, it does, let's see, DPS is a little bit lower, but again, same thing where it has a burst of 1,625 and just a long reload speed. Ragnarok, each shot does 10 or 1,500. But it attacks so quickly that the DPS is 2,625. But yeah, again, the plasma deflects all these. If you do get a Ragnarok up or a Calamity, they're referred to as the LOL cannons for good reason, because they cost so ridiculously much that it's very difficult to actually get one to fire properly in terms of energy, and it costs so much to build. So if you allow your opponent to get one, that means you just, like, you know, your team was unable to, you know, get in there and kill them, despite them spending so much money on something like that. But yeah, the plasma deflectors can help against it, but it's so much damage and stuff that there's a very good chance they'll just get through anyways. But yeah, I can attack right here within this bubble to show you how fast this decreases. That's already almost out, and now the shots are getting through. So I guess just to show how many it would require, where's my builder? Hello? Is that you? No, that's anti-air. Okay, let's build another one. Alright, so you guys, let's put down some more plasma. In fact, let's put down 2 extra right away. Oh. Yeah, well, let's do it like this then. Alright, you could probably stop. Alright, so now we have more plasmas here. So yeah, plasma deflector will stop one Basilica or Basilisk, but when it comes to Ragnarok, basically nothing will. Eventually. It just charges up so slowly that these will drain. Eventually. Even if I had like a whole slew of them, you just need so many and it takes so much energy to actually stop it. But yeah, again, Lawler Cannon. You know, I can hit these fusions all the way back here. Oh, they're going kind of adjacent to the shield, so not so good. You will notice that the attack is not very accurate. So it kind of just spreads out and does like a barrage fire like this. Yeah. I'm sure you guys have already seen a nuke, but just to... Or actually I should have built a nuke on the other side so I could show the anti-nuke. I mean, basically, you know, you shoot the nuke, and then the anti-nuke will automatically fire to kill the missile. You know, it is using physics and stuff to hit it, so sometimes rarely, but sometimes it can miss, or it can hit like be blocked by a mountain or something. You know, so be wary of that. Let's see, the Catalyst, the tactical nuclear launcher. Okay, so that was a nuke. Like it, you know, it does like, or I should just show it like this. It does a radius, you know, at least as big as the crater, a little bit of extra damage around the edges. Tac nuke by comparison. I'll just fire one right there. There it goes. The anti-nuke will not stop this. It will not stop it. But yeah, much less area, much less damage. You know, just 4,000 damage. EMP does not do damage, it's just EMPs. But yeah, I think that covers oh, I didn't talk about the Cerberus. So this thing, you know, it doesn't produce energy, but it does have a nice attack. You know, it's just this like burst of 3 shots. 900 DPS though, you know, which is not bad. and it has quite a bit of hit points at 8,300. You are giving up the Geo to build one of these, but um, you know, it's quite useful. It's meaningful, and a lot of times you don't want an advanced Geo like on the front lines anyways. You know, so you don't really want to build it in this kind of position. You would want the advanced explodable fusion, or I'm sorry, I keep saying fusion. I mean Geo. You want the advanced Geo here, but on certain maps like what's it called? Forge, where there's like fusions, or there's Geo spots like all over the place in the front line. These are great as a frontline unit in those kinds of positions, or up on a hill that's a little bit more exposed than this one is. Um, it is a plasma shot, just like you know, long-range plasma cannon, just like the Calamity, just like the what are they called? The what are these called? Yeah, Persecutor. I was right. Okay, Persecutor and Rattlesnake. Yeah, Rattlesnake. But yeah, these are all plasma cannons. On hills, they will fire a little bit longer, a little bit further. Yeah, phew, this has been a long video. I think I covered everything. Armada does not have a Calamity. Just take note of that. They instead have like a safe Geo, which it's not nearly as fun. But you know, it has quite a bit of hit points to stay safe. But yeah, that's gonna cover, or that covers all the defensive T2 and utility T2. You know, if you guys have questions, you can test stuff out on your own if you type in /no-cost, or well, first you have to type in /cheat and then /no-cost, /global LOS to toggle the global line of sight, and then you have what's it called, the God mode. You do /God mode in order to control other people on the map. Anyways, I know this video has gone long and it's been kind of hard for me to keep talking about all this stuff. But if you guys have any questions, you know, feel free to leave a comment. You can test stuff out on your own, or you can ask questions within the Academy chats in the Discord. Yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something, and I'll catch you in the next one.